Welcome back in here. Morning Kick Around. I'm Robert. He's Jason. And by request of the Ultras, we're going to bring up a story about MLS's ratings in 2026 through the first 3 months and how they've fared now that there isn't the extra MLS package on Apple. Games are now just straight up on Apple TV, and reporting says it's been a positive move.
Yeah,
Viewer-wise, at least.
62% is what MLS says viewership is up. MLS matches have averaged 62% more viewers through the first 3 months of its season compared to last year, the league said on Friday, with all games now available on Apple TV, including viewership via international distribution and linear partners. The league said it averaged 7.9 million live match viewers per week heading into its World Cup break. Now, it wasn't that long ago, Rob, that we heard Don Garber say, yeah, we got a million viewers across our schedule in a weekend or on a match day, on a Saturday or whatever. And like, oh, that's, a million. Okay. But you spread across 20 games or whatever it is, 15 games. Is that a lot per game? It's clearly not. But I think obviously the idea was, oh, yeah, but collectively, that's still pretty good, because if we had a game on national television and we got a million, we would feel pretty good about that. So Remember, as you said, the key part here is, you said it, right, that this is no longer behind the paywall of MLS season pass.
No, it's no longer there, and more people have just the straight up Apple TV, obviously, so it's available to more folks. And I still think that regardless of it being on Apple TV or behind the paywall or the separate package, I think this TV deal, and one of the questions that spurred this segment on was, what do you think MLS should do with their TV deal when this expires in 2 years as is? And I think it comes down to almost a philosophical question. Will American executives and TV executives realize that soccer and viewership of it might be more akin to baseball, where people are only really interested in the local team, rather than an NFL sort of a viewpoint where people like their home team and take in it on a national scope? And I think that's where they're at odds between. They were on local broadcasters, and there was some quality issues and QC that wasn't like major league, but people got attached to their broadcasters and some familiarity. Then it moved to kind of a national viewpoint. And I don't know if you can get millions and millions of folks to watch a team that's not theirs.
Yeah, I mean, there's that is still an overarching question. Now, the sports has moved to this model more than just, MLS is a league that has been more local than it's been nationally focused. Clearly, I do think there's always going to be that question, but I also don't think that means you don't put all of your games in one package and deliver it this way, because I think that's what people expect in 2026. And the regional sports net has completely died.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? You can't go back to a regional and local model. There's no way back, Rob. What do you?
This might be a little bit of an aside, but local teams are starting to get terrestrial TV packages, like the Detroit Pistons. They are now going to be on like the local TV 20. So there might be a little bit of
but you do that in addition to your national package, right? I mean, like I think there could be a hybrid thing that MLS does, and they kind of did that for a long time, right? Direct Kick and MLS, whatever it was called back when I had it, MLS
Season
Live
pass?
or whatever it was.
MLS Live, yeah.
It was called MLS Live, and that was just streaming packages that would take the stream from the locals and package them all together for people who are out of market, and you could then watch them. I mean, that's not even hybrid. That's the old way. This way of nationalizing everything. And by the way, this is also about cutting down on costs for production, right? Because it costs a lot of money. And if you want a standard, if you want a quality standard, this is one thing. There is one reason MLS went to this, right? They said to all the teams, let your local deals lapse. We're bringing everything in-house because they wanted a quality standard that the locals weren't meeting. And now you're also in an era of VAR and video replay and review. And if you're going to be a legitimate soccer league in 2026, if you're going to measure up to what people expect when they watch the Premier League or La Liga or whatever, if you're going to be in that category, at least in terms of how your product is presented, you've got to have the 14 cameras, and you got to have the ultra high def, and you've got to have all of those things. And the other part of it, again, like in terms of broadcasting cost, is that everybody, we talked about this with Tyler Terrence on Friday. Go back and listen to that conversation because Tyler talked about he's almost more comfortable calling a game off a monitor than in person because he was raised as a broadcaster calling games off a monitor because that's the way things have moved. Now, I don't like it. I don't like it, Rob. I don't like big games being called off a monitor, but there are legitimate financial reasons why organizations are moving to that. Major League Soccer did that. I don't know your thoughts on in person versus monitor, but I don't know that we're putting that genie back in the bottle either.
Well, I always introduce myself as the local soccer guy. So my heart of hearts is the broadcaster is there. And part of why the commentator is even a necessary part of a broadcast is to have someone giving you context of what is going on. So my contention between the commentator watching it off a monitor or being there is he's just seeing just about everything that I'm seeing watching at home. So he's just talking along with watching the TV. But in the traditional sense of the broadcasters being on location, they can provide color, feel the atmosphere, and be the voice of the person that is there experiencing the sporting event. Because I'm at home, I don't know. I mean, I can watch a game on mute and know as much as what's going on as someone watching on the monitor. I'm definitely pro putting people in the stadium, but part of Tyler Terran's story was he was commentating on things that probably has no budget to send anyone there, or if they hired someone locally, they couldn't guarantee the quality. So I understand why it's there. Like he said, he started doing, like D3 college teams, and then he moved up to doing kind of obscure CONCACAF competitions. So yeah, are you going to send a whole crew for a midweek qualifying game to Guatemala and all that stuff, or to far-flung places in a country that's that big? But if there's enough planning, enough importance to the event, I am all for the broadcaster being
big time ones, obviously, like we had
and if I could finish with the MLS point with the Apple TV bringing home here is the games aren't spontaneous. This is league games that's planned out on an advance. I think they should be able to put people on location if this is a set plan that's laid out for a number of years in this contract.
Well, the schedule's not laid out for a number of years,
but it's not going to surprise you. Like MLS is still happening next year. You should be.
But again, it's quality. It's a quality control element, and there's I mean, again, like I agree with you. I would like them to do that. At the same time, if that means sacrificing a level of quality, I don't know if I want that. It's a tough thing. In terms of what happens next for MLS on television, I don't really have a sense of that. And maybe we bring Simon Evans and some people that work on the soccer business side of things to talk about this, because the Apple TV deal is up in 2 years. You would expect Lionel Messi to have ridden off into the sunset by then. MLS will be 30 teams deep, potentially more as they look at expansion. Who knows? I know the argument is they're just doing that to, pay back the old owners, and it's all a pyramid scheme. But they're going to have a product that is kind of moderately attractive because it's still sports inventory, and that has value. There's going to be lots of games available. You don't want to do what the NWSL is doing, which is piecemeal out your package so that nobody knows where a game is happening, and you got to have 4 different subscriptions to watch NWSL. I don't think that's the move. Is there a deal where they can get one of the streaming platforms to give them enough money to make it worth their while to put everything in one place? I don't know. And will that be? I mean, Netflix is moving into live sports. Is that something MLS can leverage? I really don't have a sense of that, Rob.
To finish my point from earlier, though, I wasn't necessarily talking about leaning on local broadcasters for the MLS Apple package. I was saying that they could lay it out ahead.
I didn't say you were. I don't think
Apple could.
But that's a big expense. Get people. What do you mean? Get people locally?
Like they're for the MLS Apple package, but they are able to get people on scene all the time rather than being in studio. That was my point. Is if the product production levels are elevated, I think they should be able to coordinate on site at that level if it is.
But that's a massive production. Like a live television broadcast from a stadium is a massive production. If you have your cameras are static and they stay there all the time, and you're not moving them because you're broadcasting all the games the same way, and you're just tying your broadcasters into those cameras, then that's much simpler and much more cost effective than flying your broadcasters out, putting cameras in a booth, setting up a booth audio system, and all this. And the stadiums are wired for that. Don't get me wrong, but you're still talking about. And I know we were doing it for years and years and years. I'm not saying that this is something new for them, but again, I think MLS is seeing this as, and again, they're going to be more attractive to the platform, to the streamers, to the companies that might buy their rights if they can say this is plug and play. You're not footing a bill. You're not footing the bill on any of these costs, because that's what MLS did. They brought all their production in house. Now they've outsourced this to some London company. But man, it is, again, it's just more complicated than it used to be, unfortunately.
Yeah, fair enough. But I guess to kind of summarize and finish off this topic, it would appear per MLS that viewership is well up, as is on Apple TV rather than the MLS specific package.
We have it. By the way, are we throwing a blanket over that and saying that's basically just down to getting rid of MLS season pass as its own standalone product, and this is just now Apple TV viewers are finding MLS?
I think we could view it that way, but I'm also putting a huge asterisk because it's self-reporting and it only benefits MLS to show number go up because of the change. And, like all streaming platforms, they don't actually release the real numbers. They're just like, it went up. Here's some number that we have.
Yeah. Eddie Q talking about 45 million subscriptions on Apple TV. That's what they're saying, right? Or saying that Apple has not released subscriber numbers, though last year SVP Eddie Q said the company had, quote unquote, significantly more than the previously estimated 45 million subs. They're saying they have way more than 45 million. And if MLS, if they had 45 and MLS was getting nearly 7 million, nearly 8 million viewers per week. And how do you count those? Every time I switch games, am I a new viewer or am I one viewer watching multiple games? Right. And I do the quad box on MLS season or on MLS's Apple TV. Sometimes I'm watching 4 games at once. How is that counted?
Are you 4 viewers if you're watching the quad box?
Am I Severance? And I'm 4 different people at the exact same time.
Or if you're one boxing, jumping back and forth, are you counting every single click and all of that? Yeah. I mean, those numbers could mean a variety of things. And we are running a little bit long, but I'm glad that we were able to address some viewer question.